right.
Yeah, man.
Well, we're live here with myself, Yahtzen, ChronicPhonics, and DK
Yo,
of
what's up?
ONTK.
What's going on?
DK's fresh off a tour
Fresh off the tour, man.
with the brothers Grimm and who else? I don't know.
What was it officially called? The Fitch Academy?
It was the Fitch Academy, Fitch Team Flight 118 tour with Oliver Spitz. He presented the whole thing. He was doing a USA tour down in the States. I think can't remember which state he flew out of, but we picked him up in Vancouver. I met up with Brothers Grimm in Edmonton over at their house, over with the tour van and stuff, and linked up that way. The way it originally started, though, was I didn't just magically show up and I was on tour. There was something that actually happened there. And it all kind of coincided with some interesting timing because I had, before I even knew that this was going to happen, because there was a crew, Young Minds, they were supposed to, they were on, I'm not saying supposed to, actually, they were on the tour, but for whatever reason, and I don't really know whatever the reason was, but that dropped out, and, Pat Grimm posted about it on Facebook, and I was like, I just ordered all my merch 4 days ago. Between now and the time that this tour goes off, I should be able to correctly line that up, but there was major post malfunctions. It didn't end up working out at all the way I originally imagined it in my mind. The post, we ended up picking it up in Red Deer, and that was pretty much the midway point of the tour at that point. And for some reason, the UPS delivery system, the delivery guy, delivered it to the Napa in Red Deer, but there's 2 UPS drop-off points, and for whatever reason, he dropped it off at the Napa, and I received the notifications and whatever on my emails, and it was just interesting because we were about to leave, and we were already at both drop-off points, and they were like, we don't understand because we don't have anything here. And it was really hard to wrap my head around that because, we're okay, I received the notification, huge weights lifted off of my back already, thinking okay, I'm finally going to get my stuff. And then you get there and they go to the back and they come back and there's we don't have anything that arrived here from our guy. He actually left earlier this morning. And I was like, you're kidding me, right? I've been waiting for 3 weeks to get this stuff. And so, we communicated with the other UPS, ripped over there, same thing. Hopped back in the van with the guys, and we were gonna hop on the highway. And I was the drop-off points and that were close by to my place were in Athabasca or something, and St. Paul, small communities or whatever that share their drop-off points inside of locally owned businesses and whatever. And maybe the guy just thought that there was a Napa point a link up close by to where I was, and he just dropped it off there. Maybe that's something that they do often, but for whatever reason, I just thought, what are the odds if I call the Napa in Red Deer, and the guy that said that received it, because it says in your notifications on you get a notification when your package has arrived, and it said it was received by a guy named Gary, and so go through all of that with the other UPS guys. There's no Gary. Go call Napa, and we're just hitting the highway. And I was like, hey, I know this is a long shot and a really random question, but did a bunch of boxes show up for you guys? And was it received by a guy named Gary? They're like, oh yeah, I'm Gary. The guy that answered the phone, his name's Gary. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I was like, I'm going to come and grab that stuff. I don't know why UPS did that. I was actually cursing out UPS pretty hard at the moment because I was in a state of mind I'm supposed to already have all this stuff. It was actually kind of a flop in one way. But on the other half, when I got the stuff, they started moving right quick. There was always stuff moving every night after that. Nice. And it was always good. Yeah, it really was interesting to see how people were reacting, to the shows, the level of energy that everybody brought, and just how chill and friendly people were. And it really was a huge benefit that nobody did drugs or drank on tour too. There was none of that going on, people are allowed to do whatever they want. It's, I'm at that point in my life where it's, you can do whatever the fuck you want, man. I don't give a shit. But it was also just a bonus where there wasn't somebody in the back seat of the van just fucking Anybody else? You know, like I don't want to
It
be
brings
sitting
a
with
certain
that.
energy to the situation, right? Like
Yeah,
not
it
to
gets a
deal with
little
that is
intense.
nice.
Getting in
and-
fights in hotel rooms.
Well, and
Yeah.
you're like
So fun.
encapsulated in a van for like long periods of time. Like some trips, you know, between Red Deer and Edmonton, those were short trips. But you know, the trip from Kelowna to Red Deer is 8 hours.
Yeah, so really quick, like, tell us where you all went on this tour. Like,
Okay,
what
yeah,
were the
let's
stops?
start there. Let's start there. Let's go back a little bit. Yeah. Okay, so like we started out, left Edmonton, and went to the Vancouver International to pick up Oliver, and he landed in the U.S. We picked him up and made it our way over to Port Alberni, which is like on the island, and we caught a hostel there or whatever, Airbnb, and stayed there for the night. And then we got to meet up with Trevor. Trevor owns the Port Alberni Cannabis Club, and he's the coolest, nicest, most jolly guy I've ever met in my life. And he's also a crazy ass motherfucker too. He's literally like Trevor from GTA 5. I'm not even kidding, because he's bouncing off the walls with like positive energy. It's
Right.
it's actually like
So,
kinda
like,
crazy.
a positive version of Trevor from GTA 5.
Oh yeah, totally,
'Cause
100%. And he
I would
was
say he's
just
pretty negative.
so accommodating. Everything about it was amazing. His store is like attached to his like stage. There was a stage attached to his building, and it's like a double wide trailer that he turned into his own business and stuff. And you know, like he's, you know, selling, you know, selling weed out of his own store. And then literally like right next door there's like there's like two dab rigs or whatever. Like there's one for like the main store, and then like you can go into the like the garage where the, you know, he opens up the big door or whatever when the show was going.
Yeah.
And he took down like a link of his own garage door, so it was like wide open to the public, and there's the stage right there too, and it's actually kind of amazing.
That sounds
Yeah.
sick.
Yeah.
So this is like a cannabis club, like a private club that's hosting you guys for these shows?
Well, yeah, like it's not. I wouldn't say it's too much of a private thing. It's just like I think he said that he just got that up and running. He had originally said something about maybe getting shut down a year before that at another location, and then he was like, "How am I going to reboot like everything I'm doing?" And he was like, "Going to start up the Port Alberni Cannabis Club," and he's been doing that ever since. And he's got a great team of people. They're
How
super
long has
nice.
he had it going for?
I think like a year or something like that. He's just
Okay.
been going for like a little while now. I mean, if anybody hears this and you know I'm talking some mad shit, please correct me.
Yeah, I hope that kind of stuff keeps going strong. Like it seems like a weird situation in BC right now. When I just went through, the vibe that I got going through most places is that they've really been cracking down on all that stuff recently. Like when I was in Penticton a couple years ago, there's way more weed stores, and there was like a little cafe that you could go to and smoke at, and it was like super nonchalant. But this time, like the one that I went to, there was no advertising on the front. It was like totally nondescript. He's like, he does most of his business just online, I guess, and he wants to have the storefront, but if he advertises it all, he's going to get shut down because they're like trying to come in and crack down before the legalization, because it's like, really, they're just trying to regulate everything and make sure that all these guys are playing by a certain set of rules.
Well, it's kind of a bummer because, I mean, if you were to open that up a little bit, that's going to open a whole new number of venues for artists and like musicians, and you're going to create
and collaborations and sponsorship too.
Yeah, you're going to create business. You know, you're going to create events and things.
Yeah.
You're going to find more space for people to get out in the
Yeah.
community and do things. It's not, you know, the whole idea of this legalization shouldn't be to like push people back into the dark corners of their basement
They're
and
trying
whatnot.
to sanitize this culture that's been brewing.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
And crazy that we're talking about this. Like right in Port Alberni, there's like I think 6 shops, and it's like a community.
How many people live there?
Yeah, like it's not many. Like my hometown, like in Lloydminster, is only
Yeah.
like 30,000 people, maybe less, like 27 and a half.
I don't know. It depends on
Depends
how
on the
booming
season.
oil is.
Yeah, exactly. It's oil country, right? But like over there, I think it's probably maybe 10,000, 15,000 or something.
Oh wow, so just a
And
little
6
town.
stores.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so like
Really
in that.
smoking out there.
Oh yeah, like and you know it's a.
So how long did you spend there?
How long was I there?
Yeah.
Just just for that night. Like we got there with Trevor. Or sorry, that's a lie. We were there for 2 days because we went to the Sprout Lake the next day with Trevor bright and early. He picked us up. We picked him up with the van. Took the van with his boat to the boat launch, and that was also real fun. So like after the show was done and we wrapped up or whatever, helped everybody closed down the shop and made sure everybody sealed it up because he had been dealing with police, and he had some crazy ass stories about how on New Year's he was setting off fireworks on the roof and the police were there, and he was telling them to go fuck themselves. And it was actually a really entertaining story, and the level of energy that he brings is like you couldn't be telling lies right now. You know, this guy is just telling pure truth. And the cops actually, excuse me, the cops actually showed up. And
like during your show?
Yeah, like during the show, like I performed, and it was like mad loud, you know, like the PA system, the monitors, the doors wide open to the public, and literally across the street there's homes, and like it's the rest of the world out there, right? And it's kitty corner too, so like right on the corner of this avenue and street there's this cannabis club, and it's wide open, people are walking around. There's no alcohol or anything like that, but everybody was smoking, you know, like even on stage Oliver was, you know, like getting blend. Yeah, exactly.
It's a rap show.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not like that everywhere too. I mean, like that was like a very special occasion, you know. As we worked our way back into Alberta, things become a lot more conservative and restrictive.
Where'd you go after Port Alberni?
Right after Port Alberni, we went to Kelowna, and it was hot. Like, it was hot. This was, like, right when the fires were getting bad.
Was it smoky
on
at
that
that point?
Oh, yeah.
That heat, during the heat wave, right?
Yeah, the heat wave was gnarly. When we were at Sprout Lake before we left to hit the ferry and get over to Kelowna, it was like plus 35 the day before. Sun, you know, no clouds.
The sky boiled away.
Yeah, it's gone. No, it was hot as hell.
Smoky out though. That's how it felt. No sky.
No sky. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's what ended up happening. Like that was the last day that it was blue out for pretty much the rest of the tour. And it was funny because I was saying to the guys at the Kelowna show after we were done, because it was smoky as hell, humid. It was still like, I think it was like plus 30 still at like 10 p.m. Sun's still coming down, you know, like really muggy and hot. Yeah. And like that was some intense heat. And the smoke too. I told myself, can't wait to get to Saskatchewan so this smoke's not going to be around and I can actually see again when we got to Unity. And it was worse.
It all like migrated and followed the patterns.
Oh, yeah.
Settled.
Hit those jet streams. Oh, yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah, man, the Smokeanoggin down there.
So Kelowna, was that wild?
The Kelowna show was
bit bigger center, right?
Yeah, where we were was actually really cool. Although the place that we were at, I think it's Live, I think it's called. I can't remember
Is it like a nightclub?
Was it like in downtown or?
Yeah, it was downtown, and there was like a VIP thing going on upstairs with like the stage and live performance venue upstairs. Yeah, and then there was like the club downstairs. Okay, and it was like straight up club. Yeah, and
which one were you guys?
Upstairs.
You guys are the VIPs.
Nice. Yeah, we sure felt like it. That was interesting. I mean, like It was still fun. You know, I went on stage, I performed, everybody performed. Yeah. The guys who opened up were really dope. There's these two guys that were all about promoting like peace and love and like talking down drugs and stuff. Like they're really like positive that way. And it was actually really fun to see how like a lot of these artists, you know, everyone on the outside who might not understand the music of rap and stuff, like the culture, kind of have this like preconceived idea of what like it is to be a rapper, and it's kind of like drugs, money, kind of like, you know,
violence,
screw
exactly. Women.
Yeah, exactly. You know, drugs, sex, rock and roll, the same old story, right?
Story of biology.
Yeah. But like the guys performed, but they didn't have monitors. So like you were really fighting the club's bass.
Right.
And you know, at first, and this was no disrespect to the MCs because they're really dope. They like fumbled on some of their stuff, and I wasn't, you know, like I was thinking like, oh, they're just faking it because they all said like, sorry guys, it's really hard to hear up here, and I thought that they were just covering, you know, yeah, exactly. But then I get up there and I fumbled on like a couple of my own tracks because the bass was really like honestly like you could feel it in your shoes rumbling
so you're, like,
underneath.
Feeling a different beat underneath you in your shoes.
And, the reverb.
Yeah, so I had to actually go and stand by the monitor like right close and like stand sort of sideways so you don't get the feedback from the mic.
Yeah,
because like you know if you put the mic down with monitors, you're gonna get mad feedback. But we didn't have that, so I actually had a chance to like I don't know try and hear with this monitor next to me, because it really was like rumbling under your feet. And like I was taught, like the DJs were just like, man, there's nothing we can do. And it was funny because I think that was on a Thursday, and that was like college night or whatever for like the Kelowna students.
Yeah.
or something like that.
So was it packed?
Yeah, what was the split like? Club downstairs versus venue upstairs?
Oh, the club was packed downstairs. It was right packed, and there was like the stairs that go up to the VIP section, is just like a door and like 6 inches of thin wall that I don't think are even insulated to do anything, because like you open up the door and then like 2 feet away from the door is like open bare VIP section that's sealed off with like drapes. So all of the music flooding from the club is just like drowning out inside of the upper venue. Right. But we fought through it. Everybody did their thing, and you know, we all were just trying to be genuinely like happy at the turnout. I mean, like the turnout was what it was. It's never generally concerned about the turnout of fans and whatever. It's a bonus if there is, but it was actually a lot of fun.
I mean, even if you just got a couple people showing love and like
quality over quantity is sometimes better in a rap show.
Vibing out,
yeah,
it's a good time. It doesn't really matter how many people.
And the networking too is also like the big thing. You get to talk to a lot of people that are there as fans, and that's like the extra fun part, because that's what you do it for. You know, is like you get to entertain them, but also getting a chance to like kick it with the artists and see what they're about and what they're doing, and you know, like just trying to talk to everyone, try and meet everybody that's at the shows and stuff. Like that's like the cool thing. And then after the Kelowna show, that's pretty much what it was. We were chilling. At the end of the Kelowna show, we were all chilling over by the van. And, you know, people are clearing out of the club because it's like 1:30 or 2, so like last call, and people are getting cabs. And, you know, they see in this tour van. So there's like some people walking up talking, and people are flipping some merch too. Like it was actually kind of cool because there wasn't very many like people in the venue, and we brought all of our merch back out, and people were like, yo, could we get some of that? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like, you know, that was a really interesting thing. And then right next to the van, 2 stalls over, Buddy and his girlfriend had a flat tire, and I tried to help him out because, like, you know, like I've worked in a shop before. I still kind of work in a shop, right? Yeah. And, you know, I was like, I'm not just going to sit here and let these poor people like have this argument. They're having like a real like relationship argument where he, you know, it's just like she was going off on some like real like I'm going to hurt your soul shit. She was like, yo, like, you should know how to change a tire. You're the man in the relationship. And then he's all like, well, you're the one with the license and the AMA.
The relationship's not going to work out. If it's going to get to that point over a flat tire.
And Comrade overheard it.
You're going to face more difficult struggles than that, man.
So Comrade overheard this, you know, like Pat and, you know, brothers Grimm and Comrade. He went over and offered the AMA, and I was telling him, like, let's keep the AMA thing in mind, but, like, I'm going to give this a shot. And, like, I adjusted the jack and tried to like give it a shot, but it was sealed on there real hard. Like I couldn't do it. If I can't, like, I'm just saying, like, you know, I knock off heavy.
Switch some tires in your day.
Yeah, like I was just doing that like 4 days ago on a real note too. So, and this is like heavy duty stuff where I'm like swinging like an actual 20-pound hammer to knock this off of big ass tires. So yeah, I know that if you just do a little crafty work, it's pretty easy stuff, but aluminum and steel don't like each other, and when they're pressed against each other, they start to erode, and that they kind of conjoin and get stuck, and it becomes really difficult to pry them apart unless you got, you know, lubricant.
So you're trying to lubricate up this relationship.
Yeah, here. Exactly. So I was helping him out. I couldn't do it. We went with the AMA, and like Comrade actually did offer his AMA, so he kind of rescued them because they had like an hour-long drive to Penticton.
Oh, so did you go home with the handyman after, or?
No, they got taken care of. There was actually a local guy there that was a 24-hour, you know, tow guy or whatever came in.
Yeah, pretty quiet ride on the way home.
No, they were really nice. They ended up buying some more merch, I think, too. Maybe I can't remember.
Maybe you healed the wound. You know.
Yeah, for sure, man.
He's like, I can't fix this tire, but I can buy you hip hop rapper merch. And she's like, that is equally good. I'll take it.
Well, like, so after the Kelowna show, that was all wrapped up. We get back to the Airbnb, and there's like the turbulent blunts going around nonstop. It was a chain smoke of blunts. Yeah. And we pass out. We pack everything in and head on over to Red Deer, and that was an 8-hour drive. And it's Leah's Bar and Grill. Mm-hmm. And the openers do their thing. And there's this one kid, man, that opened up, and he was so unreal. Like he had a kid playing drums for him, like live drums.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this kid has some shit going on that I don't know of. And he's only like 19 years old. And to be fully honest, man, it's kind of hard to keep up because there's like all the openers for every show. So there's like 40 guys. So
yeah,
like,
we got you.
Yeah. So like, sorry, homie, if I'm not remembering you. If you ever hear this, I'm sorry.
Check out the Facebook events. You could probably find.
Yeah, no,
Trace.
Yeah, shout out to that guy because he was really. All of them were dope actually that entire night. But I think there was 2 performers left, and there was like a bunch. There was like 6 openers that night, like before we went on.
Where's this?
At in Red Deer.
In Red Deer.
In Red Deer, yeah. At Leah's
so that was
Bar
after Kelowna?
That was right after Kelowna, yeah.
Nice, yeah, okay. Leah's
And that
Bar
was a
Grill.
long
They put on a lot of hip hop shows. Wasn't there something real crazy that happened at that show?
Yeah, there was something that was pretty wild that happened. So this is the way it all went down. Okay, so I'm standing in geographically speaking, right in the middle of Leah's Bar and Grill. It's just the way it's set up. Like there's like places to like lean and hang onto all over the place. It's a cool lounge. And I see this big fella walk in, and he's an older guy, and he's huge. And I was like, I swear to God, I have seen this guy on Instagram somewhere, somehow. And he walks around the corner because there's like a little railing and then a section of tables. And he turns the corner, and then next thing I see, Mercules has got his hat on low, and he's with his mom and dad. And I did like the hardest double take, triple take, and I was like, man, this is, of all things to have happen on a tour, like this kind of like knocks off a bunch of things on the wish list, like for real.
Yeah.
And then I got to go and perform, and after I was done performing, I got to go and shoot the shit with him. You know, like I didn't want to go and pester him and bother him and be like, you know, be the guy who's just like, you know, having like who's fangirling, you know, hard.
Did you bring up the time that he just took everybody's stuff at Ezzy's and just like lit it all down?
I didn't. We didn't have a chance to talk about that, but I did bring up how like the first show that we ever put on collectively as like ONTK was at that show, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember that. I actually kind of remember you. You had like kind of longer hair and you still had a bushy beard." And I was like, "Yeah, that was me, man." And he was like, "Wow, that's crazy. That was like 5 years ago." I was like, because that was the Just Giver tour on Snack the Rippers tour, and he had Jacqueline G, and it was Merc and him.
He was selling his mixtape out of a KFC bucket.
Yeah. That was the one. That was so perfect, right? Well, I was telling him, you know, like ever since, like, you know, that went down, that was like the first thing that ever happened. It's crazy. Like now I'm on my first tour ever, and just so happens that, you know, you're here. And he was like, well, I do live in Red Deer, man. I was like, I thought you were down in Surrey. He was like, that's like second home, you know, like stuff, you know, like he's back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
You know? Mad working. He's king right now, you know. He really is like the hardest working guy that I possibly could like aspire to work towards.
He's like a Red Deer enigma. Like when I was there working for Nova Chemicals, I decided just, you know, I didn't know a lot of people. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go check out the NWA movie just by myself.
Yes,
and I
remember
go
this.
And yeah, like I'm like standing in line, and then like just this guy and his girlfriend come in line behind me. I see on my peripherals, and then I turn around, and it's like Mercules and his girlfriend. Just end up like sitting beside them to watch this NWA film. And it's just like, awesome. I'm not going to pester him or whatever. Yeah. Like, or anything. It's just like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And then just like chill and watch the movie by myself. But
yeah. Cause like,
such a funny coincidence.
Cause like, and you know, he's the same stand up humble guy that I met.
Oh yeah. He's real.
He's so real and just honest and transparent and, you know, like humble, like just dead, like to his core.
Yeah.
And
no
shout
diva.
out to Merc, man.
Yeah.
Like that was killer. And everybody got to meet him. We all got to talk. He actually, after we, you know, like exchanged daps or whatever, and he was like, can I like buy you a shot or something like that? And I was like, I kind of quit drinking, but you know, like we smoke mad weed, I guess. So he's like, oh yeah, we know all about that. but unfortunately we did not get to chill and smoke with Merc. He was with his parents, you know, like we're, you know, trying to be respectful, and that is like, honestly, like when you see something like that, you know, you look at his track record so far, he's like done so much work and has worked really hard and to pursue like what he's after. It's kind of cool to just see it where, you know, he was just out with his parents, you know, like on a day off at home in Red Deer, being a regular ass person, you know. So like you get to, it gives a whole new light, whole new perspective on like what it means to be like a mobile artist, where he's done like how many world tours by now?
World tours. I don't know. Like I know he's done some
Well,
like,
the Euro
pretty
tours.
large Canadian tours, and he's definitely done that hip hop, showcase events in Europe and whatnot.
Right?
So-
Yeah, like that he's doing stuff in Europe because I don't know what happened. Like to be honest, there was something that happened between them and Snack, and I can't remember what or why. But I mean, like they're not together. I think they're still like super good homies. Like they've never ever stopped being homies. But
I think it
I
was
was
just that
curious to know.
like he just wanted to be able to do his own thing. He didn't necessarily want to be lumped down into the whole stomp down killers. I don't know. At a certain point, it might be restricting. Like if you're just trying to be your own artist, right? And he's just trying to do his own thing and just have the creative freedom, probably.
Yeah.
More so than anything. I don't really know about the drama of the situation or really what went down, but that's what I'd assume.
You know, it's crazy seeing him again in person because you see him on his music videos and he's like a bigger dude and he's intense. And he is intense in person, but you meet him and he's like my height, you know, he
Oh, is he really?
yeah, like he's actually kind of short, you know, like
I've never seen him in the flesh.
yeah, like and when I saw him, he was like over 100 pounds more than what he weighs now.
Really?
And just I told him, you know, like congratulations on the weight loss too. I just lost a bunch of weight myself, like 40 pounds. You know, like that's kind of like where I was sitting before I gained all that weight in the first place. So I'm like back to normal. But he was just like, congratulations too, like because like anything that you lose is better than nothing, right? Like
Yeah.
I wish I could lose probably about 30 more. But you know, you take what you get. Speaking of which.
Got some takeout coming in here.
But that was dope. We got to see Mercules and hang out for a quick minute. He gave some really, useful advice, just for guys who are starting out, because there was like the homie Dosky out from Regina, who is a total wild card. He raps insane fast, raps insanely good.
Yeah.
Crazy work ethic. Has tattoos all over his body, and yet he manages to be the most nicest kid that you'll ever meet. He's only like 20 years old, and he really holds it down. He was, dead sober now. Sober.
Yeah, what was Merck's advice? What was he saying? He said he gave some.
Well, like I was telling him, like when I first met him, I was telling him like originally when I first started, that was like the very beginning when I first started rapping ever. Mm-hmm. And I was having a hard time like wanting to feel like I was comfortable rapping. And he said like, man, you just have to do it. You just have to do it. And fuck the haters. And when I was telling him, he's like, I remember all this, man. I was like, it sounds like some typical Mercury shit I would be saying. Fuck all of those guys and continue what you're doing and look at you now. He said like, I saw you then and now I'm seeing you now doing your first tour ever. Right. And he said, he's like, you're going to meet new people and you will guaranteed meet people in the industry that you're going to become friends with later on in life throughout business or whatever. And that's like the type of like encouragement and aspirations that you exactly hope to get. Hear, right? Yeah, like keep you going. Well, like, and it just so happens, Evolve Canadian rappers like, Classified and Snack and Mad Child and like all those big Canadian names that we all know. Like, it's crazy that Merc, to being one of those names, to just like be on like at the venue that we're performing at and like having the chance to talk to him and hear him say that, like one of the veterans at this by now. It is super reassuring too. You gotta just take that as a granule, like you never just want to take that and be like, I'm at Merc, I'm the dopest ever. That's not what it is. Like that's not what it is.
That's something that's kind of unique to Canada is that like although we have this really geographically huge country, the actual hip hop scene is relatively pretty small. It's really tight knit too. Like you start following a few people on social media, and suddenly you're in the in group. You're hearing about tour drama, in real time. Like you're hearing about record label decisions and decisions of
and you
like
hear about
collaborations, who I'm going to work with, who I'm beefing with currently.
And you hear about
who's this good promoter, who's a bad promoter, right?
Like and it's purely over, it's not so much as eavesdropping as it is you're overhearing, because you do hear it, and It comes from people that you're on tour with. It comes from people that you're not on tour with. You know, like it's subtle stuff of things, people you just met. There's so many variables and things that like make up the scenario that it is. Like it's kind of unpredictable sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
So, was there any point, I guess, while you were on tour that maybe you struggled, or like you saw some of the people that were on tour with you struggling with that whole idea of fame right now, or like getting too big or ahead of themselves, or like, do you guys ever have any like crazy fangirls like knocking on your windows or like anything like that?
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, like, so we'll come full circle to that. Okay, we'll come full circle to that. After we were done in Red Deer,
Yeah.
we left back to the hotel. I ordered Zaw for the guys. I told them like, look, you guys have been, you know, me up the whole time, and you know I got to hook you up somehow. So I'm gonna order everybody pizza, and I did. I ordered pizza for everyone. It was about okay. So the Pizza 73 closes at 3 a.m. It was 2:45, and I called those assholes probably the last guys to make their night worthwhile. No, it was just a couple Zaws, but I was surprised because there was like 8 of us, and I was like, "You guys sure 2 Zaws are gonna make it?" Because like I could eat 2 Zaws myself. So no, it worked itself out. So we do that. And that was a good show. That was a recovery show from the previous night in Kelowna too. After going off of a bunk show,
Right.
Not so much that it was like a bad show at all. It was just like there were elements that made it frustrating. And so we finish up in Red Deer, where we we went to Unity. So there was another big
Shout out Saskatchewan.
yeah.
Where's Unity at?
South of Lloydminster.
Yeah, south of Lloydminster, Unity, Saskatchewan, man. That like
How many people live there?
I don't know, like 5,000 maybe.
you know, 5.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
like it, and it's one of those places where you know,
You gotta get the whole town to come out to the show.
no, well, and the surrounding communities too.
Yeah, and they have a pretty like tight knit like community. Like they
Yeah, the guys
well
like,
built
the
around
brothers.
sports and like
Yeah, like
we played them a lot in football in high school and everything, and like their whole community would come out, and then
huge like
in
surrounding
Saskatchewan
areas.
and like that rural, I like outside of the big cities, you have all these tiny little communities of like 500 to 5,000 people, and they're just like 10 kilometers from each other, and when they really come together,
They all, like, join up.
it's like a giant city. You know?
Because that's what like Delisle, the small community of Delisle, it's real tiny. I think they have a KFC. That's it. And a church, and I bet you the church and the liquor store are combined in the same building too. That type of community. But that football team had like stacked 65 guy roster, good every year, provincial champions and stuff. Surrounding communities would come in and help fill the squad, you know? You go to their high school and their banners surround like every corner.
Probably not much to do in Delisle, Saskatchewan, besides high school football.
Do
and support your
steroids and
team.
coke.
That's what it's all about.
That's the
Right
craziest
out
thing.
of high school.
What's the craziest thing? Looking back in hindsight, you're like, oh man, people were actually doing drugs in high school.
Like heavily.
Yeah,
like fully.
It was like
in
quite prevalent. I was like, oh man,
Like probably first took their bump when they were 12.
I was so naive and ignorant, thinking I could just get by with a little no explode. Great flavored after workout.
But yeah, no, the guys. I can't remember the other brother's name, but there's Brad. Him and his brother have like a farm, and they have about on average, I think about 1 million dirt bikes. They have
On average.
on average.
It's a fluctuating number.
But they host this festival thing for like the surrounding community or whatever, and you can bring your dirt bikes. They have a flat track, no jump raceway, and there's like a 4-foot tall half pipe for the kids and stuff like that. Like, and they really hook it up. They have like 3 Quonsets. So there was like the barbecue, the Quonset where the show was performed, and then the Quonset where like we had all our merch and they stored all the bikes and stuff.
I bet that packs them in Unity, Saskatchewan.
There's a
So
lot of
people
people.
that Bring their dirt bikes. They're in.
Tons of people were there when we first arrived, and it wasn't just for like the show too. That's like just something they put on. Like that's an event, you know, an actual full on event. And everybody was so nice. and to be honest, you wouldn't think in, rural Saskatchewan that you have a whole bunch of, hicks that are just loving this raw, rugged hip hop, But that's like one of those, interesting things that like of all the places that we went and performed, those were like venues at establishments,
Yeah.
So like we got to perform outside at a Quonset on a farm. Like that's like festival-ish, it's it's super festive. Super festive.
Yeah. So where'd you stay that night?
At their house, right in the basement there.
Oh, nice.
They had a basement, 2 extra beds, and like they had all the hookups, man. They had it figured out. Very farm-like, very like you can sleep wherever you need, man.
Help yourself to a glass of milk in the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. If
The cow's just outside. You just got to milk it yourself.
Yeah. If you need to eat the turkey in the fridge, just eat all of it. It's all good.
If you need to eat the chicken in the barn, go ahead. It's all right.
Yeah, no.
Do you need a horse? Do you have any mail to deliver?
And so
That's pretty fun.
Yeah. Unity's kind of like this special spot in the middle of Saskatchewan. They've been putting on and hosting Brothers Grimm now for like a couple years.
I think actually they said the 3rd or 4th time.
Yeah.
So this is like something that they're gonna continue to do, obviously.
Because like Big Pred from Lloydminster, shout out for putting us on our first ever shows. He was always like trying to organize stuff with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, you went to Lloydminster, didn't you, on this trip?
No, I never got any details as to why, but that whole thing fell through. It was supposed to go down at the Sticks, and I was really looking forward to it because like that would have definitely pulled.
Yeah, it's your hometown.
It's my stomping grounds. That
what happened?
Definitely would have pulled, but I don't know. It was one of those situations.
So it just fell off the schedule.
Yeah.
So what'd you guys do instead?
That was, I think we ended up with, the day off in Edmonton. We had a day off. We had the day off in Edmonton, and then right after that, we went to Saskatoon.
Okay. You see J Reds in Edmonton? Did he come up to the show?
I don't think so. No. Oh, yeah. And after the Unity show, and shout out to everybody at the Unity show, man. Like,
Unity to Edmonton?
yeah, I know. Like right when we got back to Alberta, that's when things kind of ping ponged a little bit because we did, Red Deer to Unity, and then Unity to Edmonton, and then from Edmonton to Saskatoon, Regina, and then back to Edmonton.
What did you guys do in Edmonton with the day off? Any shenanigans?
Chilled most of the day, man. There was a lot of chill. Everyone was just recovering, getting that day of extra energy from driving and whatnot. It was, you wouldn't think, sitting would be exhausting. But, it is just, being encapsulated in that area for, a long period of time. And yeah, like I said, like it was really nice to have a bunch of guys who were actually really thoughtful and them knowing like everyone else on tour, these guys all went on tour once already in their life, like a few times now. Like, Brothers Grimm, shout out to Brothers Grimm, man. Like they've gone on a few nationwide tours, across Canada, and like they went to Quebec and worked their way across the east and like did a bunch of cool shit there. So like to have them, for like, for example, the Kelowna show, I really was down on myself like when I messed up that, a couple of the joints because I really was like preparing myself to be flawless. At least that's the goal. Right. And for me to screw up and then everyone else screw up, I'm still kind of thinking like just in my own self, like these guys like are just saying that, but no, like they're being very honest. Like, man, it was actually kind of like a predicament that no one saw coming. Like we didn't anticipate them for it to just go the way it did, and that's just what it was, right?
Right, yeah, I mean, that's going to happen, and, like, it's just a part of playing live shows. You're just going to have some shows where you kind of bomb, like, where there's just, like, some situations that you don't really have any control over, and then, maybe it fucks with your mental a little bit, and then it's just kind of a downward spiral from there. Learn how to bounce back, right?
Yeah, and a big underappreciated part of a hip-hop show, I think, is a qualified sound technician, nice equipment, no blown speakers, someone who knows how to wire everything up in a way and point it into the room.
That's like
it's really undervalued, but
and like the thing about being on tour is that like you have to prepare for that when you're setting that stuff up for like the initiation of the tour. So you got to be like, okay, the venue, I locked that down. Who's going to be the sound guy? Do I even know that person? So like think about that times every venue you go to. there's that guy that's got to be there. And if you have that guy on tour, like that's amazing, that's perfect. But if you don't, that's the other like, you know.
Did you guys have a sound guy with you?
No, like, but luckily everybody had a good one. Like for the most part, everybody had a local DJ and a buddy that came and helped with microphones, lighting, pretty much every place we went. It was tight.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Wasn't not disappointed in pretty much all of it at all. It was really good. I mean, like the Edmonton show, there was like some major technical difficulties, and Kripel from Doom Squad, he showed up. He was there. And so there was a lot of other cool cats that ended up showing up, but like the difficulty on I don't know what was going on with my files. All of the shows previous to that, just click and drag all the files into the programs to run it and run the set. But for some reason, it would duplicate and play both at the same time, like the same song at the same time in two different spots. So it was like,
whoa, weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. And so like I got there, I had a little flustered moment, and I was like telling the DJ, like, dude, you're not being patient enough. I think you have to wait and let this stuff load, because I thought
double clicking it maybe or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he's DJ Superman. He's actually the I guess he is the official DJ for Doom Squad.
Right.
And shout out to that guy. I had a little moment, and he was like, "Bro, I do this for a living. Like, just chill out and quit giving me a hard time, because you're kind of making it sound like this is all my fault right now, and your beats are kind of fucked too." And there was a little bit of a moment, but we like took a second, took a breath, recollected ourselves, like, "Hey, we're a team in this. Let's just remind everybody that, like, instead of making it a rush, that's only making it worse. How about let's take the good with the bad and the bad with the good, and let's work together." And we like got over our beef immediately and killed, like, we got our shit together and killed it.
Awesome.
So that's like the other thing, yeah.
So speaking to like positive culture, did you notice any kind of difference between being in BC major cities like Kelowna versus Alberta major cities like Edmonton, and then like Saskatchewan, Saskatoon, Regina?
Yeah, the booty in Vancouver is crazy. If that's what we're talking about. No. Like, I noticed that. Are you talking about in terms of like crowd reception or something?
Yeah, just anything. Like, did you notice a difference? Did people come out more? Did people come out less in certain places? Were they more supportive?
You know what?
How was the booty?
How was it? There was plenty of good stuff going around. There's the beautiful women everywhere. We know this fact. But it was probably the best reception, and like the anticipation. I didn't know what to think. Was the show in Regina, because Doski said, like, I don't know if the producers are even like trying right now. I haven't heard word back or whatever, and so there was kind of like a little bit of like an anticipation of what's going to go down. Right, the turnout was actually really solid, and the reception of that show was like really, really well received, especially for it being the last show. I finally was like, compared to the beginning, the evolution of the tour and everything, I had like,
like the best show, you'd say?
I'd say that, like, yeah, I performed really well, because like, I didn't understand quite at the very beginning how I was going to like initiate my set and work the set, work my, work the shit and
talking pieces in, crowd work.
Yeah, exactly.
Pauses,
like there's all
breaks,
that, yeah, exactly.
Water breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Breath.
You have to plan through it, and so like I had to like subtract a couple of tracks just to make sure that like everyone's gonna be entertained instead of gassing out, and those types of elements that end up coming up that you don't anticipate until you're there living it.
It's the most hype crowd there too, you'd say? Or?
You know what? The Edmonton crowd that showed up for Brothers Grimm, because like Oliver.
Well, that's their home city.
Exactly. Right? So like they pulled for that show for sure, and like it was like a good 60 people at the door, like, or something like that. Like, it was sick, and I think there was like 20 pre-sold. So like the house was pretty packed, especially when they showed up. Like, people like were smoking cigarettes while me and Doski are playing or whatever. But like when Oliver and Brothers Grimm came out, it was like everyone throw your smokes away. Let's get into the house and listen to these fuckers, because they fucking slay. And shout out to Oliver, and it was really interesting because they were like the hometown homies, like they headlined, and that was really cool. Also, just the cooperative like moments of being friends on tour. It's you get to discuss stuff like that, like, yo, do you want to headline this show tonight in light of the fact that it is your hometown. And it's not just like, this is my tour. This is, like, it's all about me, like, I really appreciated that, that just goes to show that, like, even though he's the, Oliver is the man running the show and just finished up in, the East Coast, still willing to, like, help the guys that are on tour, like, especially, if it's your hometown. And he did the same thing for Doski in Regina, because that's where he's from. And Doski had a really fun show that night. He was really feeling himself, and he's a crazy kid, man. He's got he really, like, surprised me. I've never heard quite a rapper quite like him. He's really interesting, man.
Have to check it out.
Check his stuff out. Yeah, Take 3 is actually his album.
Where's he from?
He's from Regina.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Is he on Raindrop Beats?
I think he's got a couple joints, actually.
Everyone in Saskatchewan's on a Raindrop beat.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's a... Raindrop actually came out. Him and Joey Violin, Third Scar, came out. Joey's a producer from Saskatoon, and Raindrop, shout out to Raindrop. He hooked me up with, like, the entire album, Member of Life. He lives in PA, lives in Prince Albert, which is just around the way. It's, like, 45 minutes away from Saskatoon.
Yeah.
I was thinking if we could even manage it, get on over to the studio with everyone on tour and lay
Giant
down a
Cypher.
track. Oh, Giant Cypher, yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a dope crib.
So you guys, sounds like, there's a potential for a lot of shenanigans on tour. You guys, any crazy stories? Any, like, real hilarious moments that you're like, oh, my God.
Okay,
this made it all worth it.
Late nights at a lot of bars, right?
Yeah. So there, you get a lot of weirdos. The freaks do come out at night, big time. So there's plenty of good ones that ended up going down, but the one that stands out more than anything at this point is when we were done in Regina, and we were going to get lunch at the 7-Eleven, and we all pile out, grab our stuff, and pile back in, and guys are having their cigarettes before we peel out. We're just munching away or whatever, and there's these, whether they were homeless or not, I can't tell, but there must have been a couple of them. But there is two girls, like they were the friends or whatever. And they saw the decals on the van, late night too. It's kind of like a homing beacon for weirdos to come and check your stuff out. So, we pile in. We actually closed the windows in because I was like, yo, Pat, like, this girl's scoping the van out pretty hard. And he's like, word, I hear you. So he locks it, like, the windows in because you're smoking a dart. Didn't want to smoke it out. But I was like, fuck, I'd rather not get robbed by someone right now. So anyway, she, like, scopes the van out, puts both of her hands on the window from the back all the way to the front, and Comrade was vaping in the very front seat in the passenger seat there, and had the window down, and she pokes her head in, and she's like, "Are you guys rappers?" And everyone's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I bet there's a bunch of real sexy rappers in the back of that van." And she had her friend with her, and she looks over and goes, "Heather, Look at all these sexy men." And I'm looking at Oliver. Oliver's from Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, and like this type of ebonics and language that he's hearing is like a colloquial, like
Saskatchewan, northern Saskatchewan,
like thing that
yeah.
Yeah, like this is from right here that you'll never hear in another place, sort of thing.
So he's probably laughing or just confused.
Well, like me and Doski and like everyone else, because we've heard, like that's how like the native people do actually like talk, and
just any street any like people from like the streets of Saskatoon. It's just like, hey, buddy, like they can even be like Diener.
Yeah, exactly. Like very heavily accented. Like,
hey, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And so like that was like the tip off of the joke. And so like they're asking like, where are you from? You can like us on social media or whatever. You're like sticking professional for the fans or whatever. And she's like, you guys are from Edmonton? Because Brothers Grimm's from Edmonton. They're like, yeah. He's like, oh, I'm from Clearview. And they're like, no way. I guess Clearview's like right close by to 118 Avenue where they're from, Beverly. And she was like, more reason for me to hop in then. It really was a funny moment. There was a couple other good times, like the tree swing in Port Alberni, like on Sprout Lake, like that in it.
Did you hop in?
Yeah, did she come back with you
No,
guys?
she didn't. She didn't. No, she did not. No, she I think would have.
You just buy Felicia, pushed her head out the window, and essentially.
Rolled it up. Well, I think Calm was like, yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. Rolling the window up like this. Like us on Facebook. No, that was a really funny moment, and like there are some real funny moments that happen, like all of the body slams at Sprout Lake on the tree swing. Like the one video like I posted, that was like one of like 200 face smashes that I did. Like I was so bruised, dude. Like really was bruised, and there were some sketchy moments of like not releasing properly, so I like let go and looked like Tarzan for a second. Had to like cling back to the rope, and everyone's like really freaking out because they think I'm gonna smash my face on the rocks, because like the shore and the drop off literally is like you walk 4 feet in and it's like knee high, and then right there is a 25-foot drop off. So it probably looks insane when you're actually doing it. But like this tree, man, I can't believe the tree is like, you can't fit your arms around it. And it goes out on like this perfect 45-degree angle over top of the beach line. And some warrior at some point in time took a big ass rope, like 3 inches of round rope, and climbed up there and like tied chain to it on like the first branch. Yeah. And it's like hanging down like a good 60 feet at least. And on the slant of the tree, like someone pounded in some 2x4s to climb up, so you actually have to grab the rope, climb up the steps, and grab onto the like knots on the rope and like jump on. And I did it, you know, I was the first guy. Oh, actually, I think I was the only. No, Jake was the other guy. Jake was the other guy that went and did it, and Trevor, because Trevor was the guy who like took us all out there on the boat in the first place. And he is a wily ass motherfucker. He jumped in, he took his shirt off, he's wearing a belt and denim jeans, climbs up there and just launches himself in there with his jeans on.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. I guess it's cool.
Sounds like a great time. Like,
yeah, it was just so much fun. The knowledge and information that like it can't put a price on that sort of thing. Unless you go to university, then there is a price on knowledge.
Quite a hefty price. What advice would you give to, I guess, other rappers in your position that want to go on tour or want to like hop on in a van full of, you know, crazy rapper dudes and fly across the country?
Definitely would say just drop anything that has to do with ego, and just if someone is telling you something, you don't take it personal. And like at the beginning of when I was just like really discovering the talent of rap and all that stuff, like I'm like 5 years into it solid now. Now it's just like I don't get self-conscious or offended when someone says you need to be working on, you know, like for example, like I was, you know, I missed a couple of posters I didn't sign, and I wanted to sign everything, meet everybody, and you know, like,
right.
You know, like one of the homies approached me and was like, "You should be signing every one of these things." And at first I was butthurt, right at the beginning, you know, but then it like just bite the bullet, you know, like it's actually not that bad. It's actually doing more good than it is bad. Sure. So you got to take it like that, you know. It's anything that anybody says, you're like, hey, you got to work on your timing, your breathing when you're rapping, and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you're right. I actually absolutely do need to be working on that.
Right.
And it's like a huge bonus to have someone else telling you, because believe it or not, and that's exactly what I was about to touch on. Believe it or not, no, if you're rapping alone in your car everywhere you go forever, there's gonna be areas of your talents where people are gonna be like, you probably could go without this or that or whatever, and comes right back full circle. Just drop all your egotistical thoughts of like, I'm on tour, I'm a dope artist. I met Merc, I'm a dope artist. It's like that. Those things are nullified instantly.
Take the opportunity for feedback from other people that study your craft, practice your craft,
and especially anybody that's ever had the experience to firstly like be on tour. Like, because now it's I've done the like local shows at your own, you know, good old places you play at, and you know, seen the same people, and people have heard all of our stuff, but then you get the chance like to see the full real, like the reality of what it's actually like. These people are different every show, and you actually have to bear in mind that when you make a song, you guys know this as artists, when you make a song, when you make it for the first time, that energy that it took to make that spark that made it so hype in your head, you have to maintain that for everybody else every show.
Yeah, even though if you are sick of that song.
If you're sick of it.
Because you've heard it 1,000 times, somebody else hasn't heard it once.
So you have to...
Yeah.
And that...
like stay excited about it.
Exactly. And so like once, like it was like show number 3 where I was like getting a little bit worn down. Like, because I went from pretty much not rapping for a year and a half to going on an 8-show tour.
He's back.
Yeah, like, you know, like a flash, you know, like it was crazy. So like I was a little worn down, but then I was like thinking about all of this other sort of stuff that I've ever been able to do in my life. It's all a matter of just getting through it, you know, like you're fine. Like, you're fine. Like, that's just like the point you have to make. Like, no matter how you performed tonight, your life is fine. Everything's fine. So it's just like, sticking there.
Forward, so it's like all you can really do is try and get better, try and improve upon it.
Yeah, exactly. And now it's like in the beginning too, you're always kind of avoiding people that say shitty negative things towards your music, because it's just like that, like you say something the wrong way to the wrong person at the wrong time when they're first starting to like develop a talent, that could be the one thing that sets someone off to never play again.
Right.
And
it's hard when you're starting out in lots of ways. It's just like you feel like there's all this stuff you need to learn, and you like know that you're lacking in all these ways already. So to like, you know, have just extra demotivation from people telling you.
yeah. So
Plus, there's this
now-
expectation that you're about to just blow off. You're gonna play like 3 shows in your hometown, and suddenly Dr. Dre is gonna fly you out to California.
Yeah, like in like how does it happen? It's a matter of just work and timing. I think honestly, like hard work and timing is it. Timing's everything.
So what's the future hold
The future, it holds everything.
for you?
Oh well, like the album is being finalized. Finally,
Right. You can still catch the 3 singles on Our Neighbor the King's Spotify.
Yeah, Our Neighbor the King Spotify and on YouTube.
Yeah, that's just search DK 306.
It's there. It's on the page. You can't miss it.
Yeah, Certain Sacrifices. What's the other?
306 and Your Ticket.
Your Ticket.
Some heavy motivation and some heartfelt stuff on those ones, which is going to be quite different to the newer stuff that's going to be.
Yeah. So
coming out in the
how many
future.
songs are on the rest of the album?
I narrowed it down. I'm just going to do the 6 tracks.
Okay, so another 3 are coming.
Yeah, so another 3 are
Nice.
going to be coming,
Okay.
and then
Like an EP.
yeah, and also I'm actually following that up with another 4-track EP behind that called Scrub the Launch, which
Nice.
I hope Our Neighbor the King will be able to collectively come together and maybe make some jewels.
Well, in case you
The stuff that you've been making the beats for.
There's like there's actually kind of a collective. I'm hoping to, because I wanted to do another like self-produced one, and then some Yahtzen, and I also have Joey the violin,
Okay.
Third Scar, and then Raindrop. So like there's like 4 different producers. I'm really trying to like expand, you know, like the production value and the MCs, because this whole album that I did is all me. So I want to
keep it diverse.
Yeah, like I really want to spread it out now, because like on top of the fact it's fun rapping with other people, it's also a lot less exhausting when you're rapping on stage.
Yeah, you get to bring way more energy as a group, and that's why I think it's been a
Collective,
beautiful
yeah.
thing doing this collective thing,
Right.
this ONTK. And like you said, you have a chance to take a break when you need to take a break, and people are still on the backside putting in the effort,
Yeah,
covering your
exactly.
ass, and then like you can rotate those rests.
Yeah,
And
and
then the other project you got in the works, you got at least a couple verses on the upcoming ONTK album.
Girth.
oh yeah, girth. There's gonna be some bangers.
Yeah.
Cool. Fusing some anxiety.
Yeah,
know?
some anxious fucking vibrations, definitely.
www.ontk.org.
Yeah. Yeah, if you feel like playing with a marionette for 3 months straight, just listen to Angst.
SCFU.
Yeah, SCFU. Shout out to Super Crew, man. I haven't seen. Well, it's both of you guys so far. Hopefully, maybe tonight is.
Yeah, we're gonna be. You can catch us live IRL if you're here in Lethbridge at the DJ Buddha Memorial Show at Club Lime. That's gonna be
Yes.
popping off tonight.
R.I.P.
Well, I
DJ
definitely
Buddha,
will be
man.
hanging out.
We'll be there. Yeah, we ain't performing, but you can come like chill with us, and
We
you
might
can
get
go
kicked out if we
inside
try
and
and
outside
perform,
and
but-
inside and
We'll be
outside.
tomorrow at Rib Fest.
Yeah, tentatively speaking, I don't know. We're in the process of booking a slot at Ribfest.
So
Sometime-
tentatively all day.
Yeah,
sometime in the
performance.
afternoon,
8 hour slot.
assuming, you know. But just come out, get some ribs, listen to some music.
Long
Yeah,
weekend.
fill your belly, fill your ears.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. Well, it's been great having you here in the booth.
Man, it's been
catching
great
up.
to be back in Lethbridge and get a chance to actually talk this down. I really wanted to rip over here right after tour, but the bank account was on a big fucking
Waggle.
Oh,
Nuh-uh.
yeah.
Nuh-uh. Not
Yeah.
without the magic funds.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. No, I'm really glad we had the chance to finally sit down and do this. Glad that everyone actually has the chance to know who I am, DK. Yeah.
Yeah, catch him on Girth. Catch him on Member of Life coming up.
Yeah.
You can find him on Spotify, Google Play, YouTube Music.
Yeah, Instagram at the real DK official and
There it is.
at DK on Facebook.
Yo,
And if that shit doesn't, if that for some reason if it doesn't work on Facebook, at the real DK official on Facebook. I think there's also I did something to link that also.
right. And I got to throw a huge shout out to all the new followers on the Facebook. I mean, are those all fans from your time on tour?
So,
It well like
That was-
it was. I think it was just like
Thank you for the support.
the pooling network of how social media works. You know, like one person likes you, and then you end up with mutual friends, and then next thing you know, I end up with like 1,500 new friends on Facebook, which is crazy. So like shout out to all those people like who are taking the random leap of faith that you're gonna enjoy our content, and I believe
Yes.
you will absolutely like it. So
Yeah, feel free to cross over to the YouTube. We're still aiming for that 100 subscribers so that we can get into the YouTube inner club.
make sure to check out the new album, Animal Crackers. Make sure to check out the original album, ONTK, self-titled.
Mm.
Got
yeah.
a lot more stuff on the way. We've been cooking up, hard at work here. You know, hopefully another album up by the end of the year, tentatively speaking.
Yeah, and just real quick, I actually want to give a quick shout out to Oliver Spitch and Fitch team, brothers Grimm and Doski, Frank the tank, the driver for the whole thing.
Frank
Dude,
the Tank.
he held it down and was a G throughout the whole thing. He was seriously so dope. So a shout
Make
out
sure-
to all those guys.
Follow them all up on their socials.
Yeah, and hit them on their social too. You want to hit them at Oliver Spitz on Instagram and Facebook. Brothers Grimm on Instagram and Facebook, and at Doski97 on Instagram. And I think it's Douglas Wolowski on Facebook.
Hey, just doxes them.
Love you,
Enjoy the
Doski.
1,500 mutual friends coming your way. All right, man.
All right,
That
well,
was
yeah,
great.
thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks for listening.